Hey PRPC Kids, it's Pastor Amanda with part 3 of our story that we're following with our friend Moses and the Israelites in the wilderness. In this part of our story, we find out that the Israelites get in big trouble for making something. Has anybody ever gotten in big trouble for making a mess when they're making something? Maybe you spilled paint all over the table. Maybe you got marker off the page. Maybe you were playing outside in the mud and you tracked it all the way in the house with you. Has anyone ever gotten in trouble for making a big mess when they're making something? I know I have. And that's what happens to the Israelites a little bit in our story today. You see, the Israelites, they got in trouble for making something. And I want to be clear before I tell you what they made and how they got in trouble. I want to be clear that God is really, really happy when we make things most of the time. God is creative. God is our creator. So God loves it when you make beautiful things, when you make art, when you build Legos, when you build a fort. God loves when you're creative. That makes God so happy because God's our creator and God is creative. But what happens in our story today is that the Israelites, they asked for something to be made for them that they knew they weren't supposed to. They went to Aaron. Aaron was Moses' brother, and they said to Aaron that they needed Aaron to make them a god because Moses had gone away and they were waiting for Moses to come back, and they really never thought Moses would come back. So they thought they lost their leader, and they felt like they lost connection with God. So they went to Moses' brother Aaron and they said, hey, make us a God that we can follow because we're all alone in the wilderness. And the people of Israel, they knew they weren't supposed to make anything and call that a god. God is our creator. God made us. So they knew they weren't supposed to make anything and call that God. We can't make God because God made us, right? But they went to Aaron and they said, make us a god. And Aaron said, okay, give me all of your gold jewelry. So they took off all their jewelry and they gave it to Aaron, and he took it and he melted all that gold jewelry down, and he made them a cow. Now I know this cow isn't gold, but pretend with me for a second. This cow's actually for the baby. But Aaron took all of that gold and he melted it all down and he gave it to the people and he said, here's your God. And they worshiped it and celebrated as if that was God. And God got really, really mad, and the Israelites, they got in trouble. Now, luckily, the Israelites had Moses to help them calm God down and tell them what they could do better next time. So the story ends okay, but they did get in trouble for making something. And it's because what they tried to make was God. And we know that we can't make God because God made us. I want us to remember today that God is our creator, that God is creative and loves when we make all kinds of things. But there's one thing that we're not supposed to make. And we're not supposed to make anything with our hands, nothing with gold, nothing that we can create and call that God. Because there's nothing that we could create with our own hands that could possibly love you as much as God does. So remember, God is our creator. God is creative. God loves when you create things. But the one thing we can't make, that we couldn't possibly make up or dream up or make with our own hands, is a God. Because nothing can love you as much as God already does. Nothing you can make could love you any more than our God already does. Thanks for watching this week, and we will see you next week for part 4 of our story in the wilderness.